Everybody's heard the phrase, remember the Alamo.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that a phrase? Why is that even something that we hear?
It comes from 1836. The Texian population revolted against the Mexican government. This area was a territory of Mexico. And General Santa Anna basically invaded to to put down the revolution. The Texians were defeated here at the Alamo, and the massacre of 189 brave souls who sought to defend this territory basically brought Santa Anna towards present-day Houston. And Sam Houston, the general, basically rallied his troops by saying, remember the Alamo, referring to the event and the heroism that was here to slow down Santa Anna. And the Texan army basically defeated Santa Anna in about 18 minutes at a Battle of San Jacinto outside present-day Houston, and the rallying cry was, of course, remember the Alamo, so referring to the heroism and the start of Texan independence.
This is a key for anyone visiting San Antonio, of course, to check out the Alamo. How do you maintain the integrity of this? Like this, we're standing here right now. I don't know if you can catch the echo here. The building looks like it's going to come down on me.
Oh, it will not. It will absolutely not. No, it is something we have to do a lot of work to preserve. There's a partnership between the state of Texas owns this property, as well as our organization, Alamo Complex Management, Alamo Endowment, and currently we're in a master planning process about how to preserve this building for the future. So there's a lot of hands to try to make sure that we can access rooms like this, the one behind me and all through this building for generations to come. It is a very tricky thing. The building does need a lot of care, and we have staff on site, conservators who work on it, trying to preserve the stone and keep the stone intact. And it's a tough thing, but we have a lot of faith in what we're doing.
Well, and one of the things that we were noticing, I mean, we're doing this on a day where it's just pouring rain outside, and there's a huge line of people standing, getting soaked in the rain, waiting to come in and see this. This is like the must-see. Is it fair to say this might be the most important building in Texas?
It's certainly one of the most visited. It is the Alamo City. San Antonio is the Alamo City. Tourists come here to see this building. If you come to San Antonio, you don't leave without passing by or coming inside. It is a staple of that story about Texan independence. And as a new Texan, I learned very early on in my tenure here the amount of pride and passion that every Texan grows up with just for this building and this story. So you have to come see it.
Now, Ian, obviously this goes beyond the building here. You mentioned the word stories because it's a shame to come in here, look at the building, and walk away. I'm sure there are a lot of rich stories. Is that part of the tour?
Absolutely. We offer a number of different programming options for anybody who seeks to come here. We don't want to just see people walk to the front door, take a picture, and walk away. We have exhibits inside our Long Barrack Museum outside this building. We also have programming outside, living historians, and we'll have special exhibitions in the future. We have programming in the back with films in the back of the complex. So there's a lot that we're going to offer even now and in the future to enhance the storytelling that we have on site.
Well, and for the storytelling as well, it must be neat to try and get this building and what it means to not only Texas, but to the rest of America as well, across to kids.
Absolutely. An interesting feature is that Texan school children in 4th grade and 7th grade have to take Texas history. So it's almost a requirement that they are engaged with this building in some way. We do some distance learning programs. We send out materials to schools. And then, of course, we have schools that literally come and bring field trips here and we show them around. So education is a huge part of what we do.
I must tell you, on our drive here, Neil and I, on our drive down here, we had this misconception that this wasn't downtown. We thought it was going to be, I mean, it just doesn't appear. It's so, we just thought this would be outside of town. Sure. Is this a misconception a lot of people seem to have?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because it's a battlefield, people believe it's sort of like Gettysburg or some of the other Antietam, some of the American staple battlefields where they're a bit in the country and you have to drive to them, and it's very pastoral. This was a battlefield that the city of San Antonio grew up around. It's a very different context. But part of our job, and I mentioned the master planner earlier, is to preserve that legacy of the battlefield, sort of preserve the storytelling of the heroism that occurred here. This, for all intents and purposes, is a gravesite.
If there's one nugget out of this building that you want to make sure that something that the average person wouldn't think to stop and look at? What's the one thing that you look at and you go, God, I wish more people would stop to look at that thing?
It's a great question. For me personally, still being a very new Texan coming here from New York, I get to look at it still through the lens of a tourist a little bit. And what I'm fascinated by is the graffiti. You will see carvings in a lot of the walls from the different periods of its existence, especially when the U.S. Army took the building over after the battle and after Texan independence, and Texas became a state. You will see different carvings where they will carve in U.S. Army and the name of somebody. And I find that just fascinating that people left their mark not knowing the impact of this building on our history, but they sort of left their mark in that history.
So for our Canadian listeners here, these tours run round the clock, 7 days a week?
We have tours every day. We have walking tours. We also have audio tours. And we also have programming talks in our courtyard when it's not raining. We like to gather people out there, and we also have an amphitheater in back. So we try to get people in touch with the history and different elements of the history, not just the story of what happened here, but the story of the people who were involved, the different characters such as Davy Crockett, Jim Bowie, the Tejano culture itself. We try to really tell that in a more rich narrative. So we have a lot of programming, and we encourage people when they show up at our front door, come on inside and see what we can do to help tell that story.
Ian, this is great. This has been a great part of a rainy day. Thank you for all this.
Thank you very much.
Ian.
Come back when it's sunny.